There may be a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to speak louder than I usually do. I want to say that I was curious, um, studying some stories about widows' rights and difficulties with burials and how families don't have quite the information that they need, or as later in life there's not clarity in communication among the family, how isolation is looked at problematic with visitation. In facilities, the guest books exist for a reason, and that would be when they arrive and when they leave. I say the worst case scenario. People may have concerns about well-being. It could be other family members, could be people that intend to incite or exacerbate situations, or it could be concerns with caregivers. So regardless of that, the clarity on who makes the decision on the burial, as a widow, sometimes is problematic, because whomever preceded the other in death, they may not have picked out a couple's plot. So in that case, then you're making that decision with maybe several people wanting the family to have accessibility to a burial plot versus the widow choosing where she would reside next to her spouse, or not. She may remarry, he may remarry. It may turn into a different scenario than a burial, a traditional burial. It may be an urn, it may be ashes, which can be buried, or it may be a choice after cremation to not be buried at all. It was interesting. I was following the story on Casey Kasem, and that's where I came across the information about isolation, as this woman opted to travel with her husband, and he passed during their travels. And then the complication became her choice, as to where she said his preference was to be buried, and ended up in a 6 month long delay of his burial, which ended up being out of the country. It was quite public at the time. The family wanted him buried in more of a celebrity status, and he was buried in an unmarked grave, out of the country, out of the U.S. So this is not the norm. It may or may not be, depending on how people feel strongly about places they may have traveled to where they want to have their ashes scattered, which would be much different than being in an unmarked grave. And ashes have been dispersed among family members. They may be made into some beautiful ornamental status. It can be put into jewelry, it can be put into tattoos, and it can just simply be in an urn. So this is not intended to be about options for burial. It is more or less the solidity of the communication between spouses, or between church affiliations on burials, and what their religious practices are, and the clarity that needs to be made. I have come right to the point of having this be unclear as well with family members, and I am maybe the sole person that still believes in tradition and goes and keeps burial sites beautified and prayed over, and pay my respects in that way. I know it's changed dramatically. So this is not just a case that has to do with elderly. It can be unexpected demise. This occurred in my family as well. And her spouse chose a different route. And that was not one where anybody had access to pay their respects. And different people had their say in it. And a family gathering posthumously was done, and even that may or may not have led to any kind of closure. But everybody needs to respect the wishes, especially anything that's been put into writing. So, it's probably best if you're doing advance directives in something along the lines of power upon death, whichever is more applicable. Maybe one you would be doing at an earlier age than another. It would not be practical maybe to use one form over the other, but you could investigate in it from state to state and find out who would be the person that would make a decision that if there isn't anything in writing or communicated among the family, and then if there's there's not a family plot or a designated cemetery or something to that effect, if this is the first of a generation making that decision, and families are kind of scattered far apart throughout the United States, these are all kind of tough questions, but they need to be addressed with the individual first, and if not with the individual, then with the spouse. Not with the spouse, then whomever is going to pay for that after the fact, so that there's some kind of a legal record of that, or obituary or something in that effect, so that a person researching it, maybe from another country, extended family, or other changes, they have access to records decades from now. It's just a thought. It was in passing. It was because it just kind of came across my radar in some rather public celebrity status type questions had arisen, and I realized that kind of affects pretty much everybody these days. Post-COVID, a lot of people have changed their ideas about how they're going to go about that, and also ideologies have changed also about organ donating and such. So that just, like I said, was something to ponder, maybe even something to pray about in the future, or to, reflect on yourself and what you feel like you want to leave to communicate to the people that love you, so they know how to do their very best by you. Always in your thoughts, always in my thoughts, and prayers to you and your families as you go through these things that many people will come across at some time in their life, their pivot points, their memories. And as always, I will bring different subject matter that we can share or comment on. Thank you.